The glass shattered before either of them said a word. It slipped from her hand,
Don't.
hit the edge of the counter, and burst across the kitchen tiles in a sharp, violent sound that didn't belong in their quiet apartment. Water spread in a thin, shimmering sheet toward his feet. Neither of them moved. Don't, he said finally, his voice low, controlled in a way that meant it wasn't. She froze mid-step, barefoot, staring at the broken pieces like they had rearranged her entire life in one careless second. I wasn't, she started. I said don't, he repeated, softer this time, but worse. Her fingers curled slowly into her palm. It's just a glass. It's not about the glass. Of course it wasn't. Everything about them was arranged, except the part that mattered most. She exhaled, long and shaky, then looked at him properly. He was still standing by the dining table, sleeves rolled up, with tie loosened, the faint crease between his brows deeper than usual. He looked like a man who had been holding something in for far too long, which was ironic, because so had she. It's tomorrow, she said. His jaw tightened. I know, and we're just... What? Going to pretend we're fine with it? We agreed, he said, from the beginning. Her laugh came out thin, brittle. We also agreed on separate rooms. Silence. The kind that stretched until it became something else entirely. He looked away first. That hurt more than it should have. A year ago, none of this would have mattered. A year ago, she had been sitting across from him in a quiet cafe in Seoul, gripping a cup of coffee she couldn't taste, listening to him explain why marrying a stranger was the most reasonable solution to both their problems. I'm not asking for anything complicated, he had said then. Calm, precise, like he was outlining a business proposal. We marry legally. You get your visa. My family stops interfering. Interfering? She had echoed, raising an eyebrow. They send candidates, he clarified. Constantly. Meetings, dinners, introductions. It doesn't stop. And you think marrying a foreigner will stop them? Yes. She had studied him for a long moment. Why me? You need a spousal visa, he said simply. I need a wife on paper. We both benefit. That's not an answer. He met her gaze then, steady and unreadable. You're not emotionally invested in this country. That makes things cleaner. She almost laughed. You think I'm not emotionally invested? You're here for research, he said. Temporary. Temporary. That word had followed her into the decision. Temporary discomfort, temporary arrangement, temporary marriage. It would all end cleanly. That had been the appeal. And what are the rules? She asked. He didn't hesitate. Separate rooms. No interference in each other's personal lives. Public appearances only when necessary. We maintain the image for my family and the authorities. After 1 year, we divorce. 1 year. She had tapped her fingers against the table. And if something goes wrong? It won't, he said. She smiled then, slow and sharp. You sound very confident for someone proposing to a stranger. I don't do things halfway, he replied. Neither do I, she almost said. Instead, she extended her hand. 1 year. He looked at it for a second before taking it. 1 year. It should have stayed that simple. The apartment had been the first crack in the plan. It was too domestic. She had expected something cold, functional. Instead, it was warm in a quiet, understated way. Soft lighting, neutral tones, a kitchen that looked like someone actually cooked in it. You can take the room on the left, he said, setting her suitcase down. It gets more sunlight. She glanced at him. And you're giving it to me? It makes sense. She tilted her head slightly. You're nicer than I expected. I'm practical, he corrected. Sure, she murmured. The first night she couldn't sleep. Not because of him. Not exactly. Because of the strangeness of it all. The awareness that there was a man in the next room who was, by law, her husband. A man she barely knew. At some point, she got up and wandered into the kitchen. He was already there. Of course he was. He looked up from where he stood by the counter, a glass of water in his hand. Jet lag? Something like that. They stood there for a moment, two strangers in a shared space, both pretending this was normal. Do you always wake up in the middle of the night? She asked. Sometimes. She leaned against the counter. This is weird. Yes. And we're really doing this. Yes. She huffed a quiet laugh. We're insane. He considered that. Probably. That should have been the extent of it, but small things started to shift. He remembered how she took her tea. She learned the exact way he liked his shirts folded. They fell into a rhythm that felt dangerously close to natural. By the third month, the separate rooms were more symbolic than anything else. Not because they crossed any lines, but because the space between them had changed. Did you eat? She asked one evening, dropping her bag by the door. Yes. What did you have? He hesitated. Instant noodles. She stared at him. You have a fully stocked kitchen and you're eating instant noodles? It was quick. That's not an excuse, she said, already moving toward the kitchen. Sit down. I'm not hungry. Sit. He watched her for a second, then did as he was told. You're very bossy, he remarked. You married me, she shot back. He almost smiled. Almost. By month 5, his family had stopped asking questions. By month 6, they started inviting her to gatherings. You don't have to come. You don't have to cuz he told her the first time. I know, she said. But I will. Why? She shrugged. We're supposed to look convincing, right? He studied her for a moment. You don't have to prove anything. I'm not, she said lightly. I just don't like doing things halfway. Something flickered in his expression at that. He never said what. By month 8, they stopped talking about the end. It wasn't a decision. It just happened. The date existed, somewhere in the background, but neither of them brought it up. Until it arrived anyway. And now here they were, standing in a kitchen with broken glass between them, pretending this was still something they could walk away from. You should pack, he said finally. She blinked. What? Your flight is in 2 days. I know when my flight is. Then you should pack. She let out a slow breath. Is that really what we're doing right now? It's what we agreed on. Her chest tightened. Stop saying that like it means something. It does. It doesn't, she shot back. Not anymore. His eyes snapped to hers. Don't. Don't what? Acknowledge reality? The reality is that this was never supposed to be. What? She cut in. What wasn't it supposed to be? He didn't answer. Because he couldn't. Because they both knew. She took a step closer, ignoring the glass on the floor. Say it. I'm not going to. Say it, she repeated, her voice breaking just enough to make it dangerous. His hands curled at his sides. It wasn't supposed to be real. There it was. The truth, laid bare and useless. She swallowed hard. And is it? Silence. The worst kind. Her laugh came out shaky. That's what I thought. She turned away, grabbing a towel to start cleaning up the mess. He moved before he could stop himself. I told you not to. I'm not going to stand here and do nothing, she snapped. You'll cut yourself. I don't care. I do. The words hung between them, heavy and irreversible. She stilled. Slowly, she looked up at him. You don't get to say that now. His throat tightened. Why not? Because you don't get to care when it's convenient for you. It's not convenient. Then what is it? She demanded. Because from where I'm standing, it looks a lot like you deciding when this matters and when it doesn't. That's not fair. Fair? She echoed. You want to talk about fair? She dropped the towel, water still seeping across the floor. You made this sound so simple, so controlled, like we could just switch it off when the time came. I thought we could. Well, we can't. Her voice cracked on the last word, and she hated herself for it. He took a step closer. Then what do you want me to say? The truth. I just told you the truth. No, she said, shaking her head. You told me the version of the truth that lets you walk away from this without feeling anything. That's not. Then prove it, she cut in. He froze. Tell me this doesn't matter, she said, her voice quieter now, more dangerous. Look me in the eye and tell me that this, she gestured between them, doesn't mean anything to you. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Because he couldn't. Because it did matter. More than he had ever intended. More than he knew what to do with. She saw it in his silence. And something in her expression shifted. Not relief, not quite. Something softer, sadder. I knew it, she whispered. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration bleeding through his composure. This doesn't change anything. Her head snapped up. How can you say that? Because the situation hasn't changed. I'm leaving. Yes. And you're just going to let me? His gaze hardened. What do you expect me to do? Ask you to stay? Yes, she said, without hesitation. The word hit him like a physical blow. Yes, she repeated, stepping closer. I expect you to ask me to stay. I expect you to give me one reason not to get on that plane. His chest tightened. You have your career, your research, your life. Don't, she said sharply. Don't list logical reasons like that's what this is about. Then what is it about? She stared at him, disbelief flickering across her face. You really don't know? Tell me, he said, his voice quieter now. It's about you. she said simply. The air shifted. Something fragile and terrifying settled between them. You, she repeated. This. Whatever this is. He swallowed hard. It's not enough. Her breath hitched. It could be. It's not, he said, more firmly this time. Not if it means asking you to give up everything you've worked for. I'm not asking you to decide my life for me, she shot back. I'm asking you to be honest about what you feel. I am being honest. No, you're being careful, she said. There's a difference. He exhaled sharply. And what if I say it? What if I admit that this, he gestured between them, mirroring her earlier movement, means more to me than it should? What then? Her voice softened. Then we figure it out. It's not that simple. It never was. Another silence. Heavy. Charged. Unavoidable. I don't want to lose you, he said finally, the words quiet but undeniable, her eyes filled with something that looked dangerously like hope. Then don't. I don't know how to keep you. Try, she said. It was such a small word, such a terrifying one. He took a step closer, then another, until there was no space left between them. Stay, he said, his voice rough now, stripped of all the careful control he had built over the past year. Stay, and we'll figure it out. I don't have a plan. I don't have guarantees. But I... He stopped, the words catching in his throat. She waited. I don't want this to end, he finished. Her breath trembled as she let it out. That's all I needed, she whispered. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then she closed the distance. And this time, there were no rules left to break.